Okay, but did you stop and say, hey, it's me?
No, it's so funny because I hadn't seen them in years. Like, they didn't recognize me. They were like, "You are glowing. What's your secret?" And I said, "Honey, I'm healing." Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Honey, I'm Healing. I'm one of your co-hosts, Renee.
Welcome back. This is Irina.
And today we're going to continue with our third and final part on narcissists. And today we're going to be specifically talking about what it's like to be in a relationship with them, what they're like in relationships, and specifically why there's such a huge trend of codependents and narcissists together.
As one.
Yes, it is unfortunately not the same idea.
Yeah,
Unfortunately. So, as kind of a recap, the first episode that we put out, we just kind of gave a brief overview of narcissism. Our episode last week was about the origin and kind of the emotional immaturity that it takes to develop a narcissist. And today we're going to kind of talk about how that's played out in their adulthood and in their relationships.
Yeah.
So, as we know, based off of my research from the first episode, I love Dr. Ramani, and she was recently on Dex Shepard's podcast. And I was listening, and a lot of this was really hitting home for me. So she talked about how being in a relationship with a narcissist is like playing a slot machine. And I thought that was a really interesting visual.
You're gonna get.
Right. But you hit the jackpot once every 10th time. So you just keep going back because you know it's going to come, but you just keep going back. And she said that it was very much that sentiment, and I could not agree more to that.
Wow, I've never heard of it said that way. Okay.
I think fundamentally, narcissists enter into relationships where they have the main focus and where they are the one in control. It's all about control, it's all about power for them. And unfortunately, from research that I've done, it shows that narcissistic people, depending on their level on the spectrum of narcissism, typically don't go into a relationship going into it for, I want to have a partner. It's, I want to have external validation and have someone cater to me. And I think that that's why codependents are magnetically attracted to them.
Yeah. Yeah, because they are the same in a way.
Yeah. Well, it's like
they both have low self-esteem and low value of worth.
Yeah.
What they believe they are worth.
I think they're the different sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
It's a very altered sense of self, and the narcissistic side is, we'll call that the head side. They are very
like more overpowering,
very egotistical, very self-centered. Everything revolves around them. And then the codependent side is,
they're usually compromising, sacrificing themselves and their own needs.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that underneath it all, both sides have a really internal loathing of themselves. Which is probably why they go together.
They complement each other very well, actually.
They do.
Because a partner for a narcissist really could be like a doormat. And they make it very easy to suppress themselves for that partner to rise. And that's what they need to thrive.
Relationships are only there to benefit the narcissist. Like I said, it's not necessarily about, I think when people go into a relationship, they want a partner and they want to make that person happy. And I think on either side, whether it's the narcissistic side or the codependent side, it's the codependent side is, I'm here to serve this other person and to not focus on myself at all. And the narcissistic side is, I'm here to get as much out of this as I can for myself and not focus on the other person.
Yeah, that's like a very extreme case.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah, like I said, it's kind of all on a spectrum, but I think that baseline, that kind of tends to be that they're that theme.
Yeah, that's the type each attracts.
Right.
Do you think like that codependent partner ever has a realization of how they're being treated, when is enough? What ends up happening in order for them to essentially split?
Narcissistic people know that codependent people are not going to leave because they feed off of one another.
Mhm.
So that's why this cycle continues. I think that the codependent person is very much aware of what's going on,
Mm.
but they receive the self-soothing, they receive the comfort, and I think a lot of it too is the fawn response and getting stuck in that cycle of
Ease and
survival,
appease.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They also cannot be direct and vocal with their needs. I feel like they tend to be more indirect or passive.
Which side?
Codependent,
Yeah.
not the narcissist side, because narcissists, I don't see them leaving as long as their partner is contributing to
Yeah.
their own
Yeah.
self-inflation. But if a codependent has growth, they're either going to start having boundaries, and like that will force a narcissist to no longer take advantage of them, and or that codependent person probably will continuing resenting
Hmm.
because they don't know how to vocalize, or they don't vocalize their pain, and the lack of probably zero vulnerability, the lack of vulnerability, and the lack of true connection.
Yeah. Codependent people will take on the interests of their partner as a form of people pleasing. And I'm
Mm.
thinking about that too for
Have you
myself.
done
Oh,
that?
yeah.
What have you done?
Like anything sports related.
Uh, like where it became your thing too.
Yeah. Or it was a means for connection.
Because connection is only on their terms.
Yeah. But it also gave me something to talk about. It gave me something to be excited about. And it created
Mm.
this false sense of security of at least we have this, even though it wasn't necessarily genuine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that narcissists can leave that relationship. They're no longer receiving their supply from it. But
The only reason they wouldn't be receiving their supply though is if
yes,
someone cuts that off.
right, right.
And it's like, I've got boundaries now. You cannot hurt me. That like basically everything you want to do, I will no longer accept it. And that dysfunction discontinues.
Yeah,
And you're no longer needed.
yeah,
It's not even that you're no longer loved, you're just not needed.
yeah,
Because it was never about love. It's about being needed.
yeah.
Dagger to our heart.
Oh, yeah. I think too, with that dynamic of a codependent leaving, it sparks that lack of control that a narcissist ultimately fears. They have that really big fear of abandonment and rejection, and that will really trigger that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that aggression can come out.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely the victim mentality of a covert narcissist as well can definitely come out through that too.
You know what? I've seen a very codependent narcissist woman. When I was doing our research, a lot of the questions were, well, can they be the same? Like, can they have both of the same qualities? And I think they can. Maybe they're expressed a little differently.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like seeing a unicorn, I feel like sometimes. Because
I guess I wouldn't know like how to explain or like what that would look like, but
I guess it just, yeah, I think it just boils down to what kind of validation externally that they're looking for in the person that they're trying to receive it from.
That's a deep one.
So, long term, kind of what we're talking about through the lens of one person leaving, a relationship with a narcissist can only really function as long as that codependent person stays in their codependent state, because it's only going to be successful when that codependent person is completely giving up their right to have any kind of mutual benefit or service.
Yeah.
They will not receive anything back. And once the codependent either can come to terms with that or obviously leave, but that's generally the only way that these kinds of relationships work. This is kind of a side tangent, but I'm wondering if this is how the like 1950s housewife thing came about, or just that mentality of like needing to, and I'm not saying that being a housewife is wrong. I would love to live in that time, but so many women weren't happy doing that. That's when like Prozac started to get really popular
Mhm.
and things.
Mhm.
I think maybe it wasn't necessarily the situation, but their husbands, or do you kind of get what I'm saying? That
Yeah. I don't know. It could have been, I feel like a lot of it was probably religiously influenced.
that's a, yeah, that's a really good point. I was thinking about religion being an influence to that as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like wives submit to your husbands.
Mhm. That's what comes to my
Yeah,
mind when you, of course, all of that is taken completely out of
yes,
context
it
and
is. It
misinterpreted and
is.
misread.
It's definitely what's the word? Weaponized.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Bible is so yeah. So much in the Bible is weaponized against women, and it's not even what it was talking about. And Jesus was the biggest feminist there was. So,
I think that oftentimes people forget about the husbands submit to your wives and that it really is a 50-50 thing.
hmm,
Because it'll be wives submit to your husbands. That's the part that's always
yeah.
taken. And
So I could see religion being an influence into women being big pleasers in the relationships and dying down. And I think also mothers tend to kind of go ignored too. Once moms start having kids, women start having kids, they tend to get ignored and just kind of in the back of the move to the back of the bus. And I think that it's just like a cycle in itself that repeats itself. But
this is a really random thought, but a lot of videos on my TikTok have been divorce attorneys coming up about trends that they're seeing now, and it is the mom, it's a working mom that actually ends up like pursuing the divorce because they're the one, they can't do everything.
yeah.
And that's actually a huge trend now that that divorce attorneys are seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that goes along with this a lot, like very well.
Because you could have a partner who still like expects
Yep.
that woman to do all the house stuff on top of working a job and taking care of the kids because they tend to take much, but that's in unhealthy relationships, I
No.
feel like.
But that's unfortunately a huge,
Yeah.
yeah, it's growing in popularity now because those same women are expected to cater to every need of their husband, to remain interesting, to keep their appearance. It's
To have their own hobbies.
yeah, they're not Stepford wives.
Kind of brings me into, because I've been watching a lot about trad wives and
Yes.
like if people just complain about it all. Like I feel like society, especially women, like we put down the working mom and we put down the mom who wants to stay at home and raise the kiddos. So it's like you look back to the 1950s and it's like, okay, well, which one's worse? Like what's it?
I want to clarify, I don't have anything wrong with trad wives.
I don't even actually know what the
Or
term stands for and means. What is,
let's
because
look at,
I thought it was tradie wives.
I
Like,
think it's traditional wives.
oh, okay. I feel like I should have known that. But you hear a lot about trade wives too, like blue
Yes.
collar.
Yeah. This is from Urban Dictionary. Trad wife, short for traditional wife. That is to say, a female homemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Some women choose to do that and some don't. Each person has a right to pursue happiness as they see fit.
Oh, I have a big comment on this because
Yeah.
it's kind of off our topic, but I love Ballerina Farm.
Yes.
That's not her name. That's the
Yeah.
name of their company. They like had a publicist come in their home from the New York Times and like write an article and completely manipulate like the way she told the story. Like she obviously stated everything Hannah and Daniel said in the article, but like twisted the intentions, the just all the things, and made it seem as if Hannah is oppressed, under control, just because she is a traditional, like, stay at home mom, raises 9 or 10
Yeah.
kids, is co CEO of their company. I'm sorry, like, she's killing it. And all the comments on like all the videos coming out about that are like, she just wanted to be a ballerina so bad. Like, she's so oppressed. Like, Daniel, take her to Greece, and
Yeah. The
it's
egg apron and like,
who's to say she's oppressed because she chose to have a different dream?
no. And how sad that that took her having to come out and defend her husband and say, this is actually like, this was my choice.
Yeah.
Like, that is really so sad to me that she even had to do that in the first place, that they welcomed this reporter into their home, into their life, and were completely misrepresented.
And
It's
women couldn't see past that. Like,
no.
oh, just mind-boggling how if like feminism doesn't look a certain way to one person, then it's not right.
Well, and then with her with her explanation,
Mm-hmm.
it was a voiceover. So a lot of people were like, she's
Blink
being
twice
yeah,
if you're
yeah,
reading
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
script.
yeah.
Like,
They were like, this sounds scripted, like he wrote it for her. And I'm
like,
like, give it up already.
yeah, people just will forever believe in their own little conspiracy. And but luckily I feel like she had more support in what we were saying.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I think that there's still so many women that subscribe to that idea that we shouldn't be the ones to tell women that they're a bad mom if they're working, or if they're a bad wife, or whatever, if they choose to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom.
yeah.
That doesn't mean they can't have fulfilling lives. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean any of that. It's just their choice. And
It's really interesting how some women, in the name of feminism, will put other women down for some, like, to me, that's mind-boggling.
I know. That's not empowering other women. That's putting them
Mhm.
down. That's shaming them. And
I don't see anyone shaming men for choosing different careers or for being stay-at-home dads. I see men being praised for being stay-at-home dads. Like,
they could literally pick up a wrapper off the floor and be praised for it. Like, you're such a good dad. You took care of that, look at you cleaning. It's the bar's so much lower.
yeah,
And I don't mean that disrespectfully whatsoever. I think stay-at-home dads are great. But if that's the case, it needs to match.
yeah,
There needs to be equality there.
yeah. And I mean, I know so many great relationships where like parents both take on the role of like the kids. As soon as each parent gets home from work, the kids are the priority. It
Yeah.
isn't like this one person who, if the laundry needs to be done, no matter whoever walked in that laundry room first, just does it. And there isn't this overwhelming load on the females.
Did you see that video where that woman on TikTok got absolutely berated because she doesn't do her husband's laundry? She just does hers.
Really?
Yeah.
Sometimes I only do my own laundry.
Yeah. It's like,
We're not their mothers.
no, well, that's what.
And I don't expect him to do my laundry.
No, but it's like, who cares? At the end of the day, if it's not your relationship, like,
Oh,
why are you investing your time and energy into that?
yeah, that's wild.
Zoom out. That's all I gotta say. Touch grass.
That's a good one.
Coming back to Dr. Romney talked about the fawn response, and I know I touched on it briefly, but I think that this plays a big role into why codependents stay as well, because at a certain point, it wasn't fight, flight, or freeze. It was the only way to maintain safety in that situation, or a sense of security in that situation, was for my body to go in overdrive and think for me and say, you need to make this person happy, because that's what
Yeah.
equated to safety for me growing up. It was managing the emotions of others.
Especially like a parent,
Yes.
like completely suppressing everything you need in order for it to be like for there to be harmony in a parent-child relationship.
And talking about praise, that looks a lot like self-sacrifice. And it's not. That's self-neglect.
Explain that. What do you mean by praise?
Well, we were just talking about how like men get praised for.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people can look at that situation and say, that woman's so sacrificial, that sacrificial love. No, that's self-neglect.
Yeah.
It's completely foregoing yourself. And I guess it depends on however you want to narrate that, but that my experience, it wasn't sacrifice, because there wasn't any kind of productive outcome. It was neglecting myself, and it was ultimately just fueling a fire that was going to keep on burning anyway. And that's the sad thing about this too. It's that when I've come out of that cycle, I've thought to myself, well, what happens because I put so much energy and work into this person? Like, and now the next person's just going to get to reap those benefits. And isn't that so sad? Every research that I've come to find has said that they're not going to change. And that if like I ultimately didn't change that person.
Yeah, I see TikToks about that.
Yeah.
Like, I helped him glow up and change
No.
so much just for him to go to the next person. I think people forget that people carry their baggage.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think that was a very self-righteous thought of mine to say, like, I had the power to change somebody, or my influence was so great that that's definitely
I'm sure I've done that.
Yeah. But
I used to do that. Like, I feel like that's such a common Christian thing to do, though, is to say, I've prayed and prayed and prayed for this person and I did my part. And I don't know. There's something that's self-righteous there for me, because what if that person really didn't need your prayer? I'm just thinking of like in general, not necessarily narcissistic and codependent relationships. I'm just thinking Christians in general. I've definitely been approached by Christians who are like, I'm so praying for you, and like, in certain circumstances where they think I am not on God's path, and it's like, thank you, like, I love people to pray for me, absolutely, but that's like a very self-righteous thought.
Having been in that situation and having reflected on that a lot, I think that ultimately what praying for that person did was change me.
Yeah. Hey, and I hope that's the same case.
And I hope that, and I think that when like Jesus says pray for your enemies, I think that that's because that's what his desired outcome is for that person.
To change you, not them. Otherwise, that's what witchcraft is.
Correct.
Witchcraft is manipulative prayer.
Right.
It's not Harry Potter spells, guys.
No.
Let's get that out of the way. Just like using God's name in vain isn't saying, oh my God, it's saying, hey, God wants you to do this.
Yeah.
When there's no clear evidence that like that's God's will for someone, or that that's the image of God.
No.
To be with someone specific.
Yeah.
Whatever, or not to be with someone.
God told me you're my wife or husband. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never know how to take that. Like, I don't know.
It's a really hard place to be in. Because what if he did? I think confirmation will come, but I don't know. I'm not gonna.
I don't know. I can't see it.
I have learned not to count anything out.
Yeah.
But the skeptic in me, like that red light's blinking with that one. I think with learning more about the fawn response and understanding that it is something that's so completely out of my own control, it made me feel a lot better, or it detached a lot of shame for me, because it was my body recognizing that I wasn't capable of being safe in that situation, and it was doing its best interest for survival. And when I saw it as through that lens, rather than why did I say or do that? Why did I stay, or what, insert situation here. It made a lot more sense to me, and it just kind of allowed me to have more grace with myself.
Yeah.
And that was a really beautiful revelation. So, yeah.
Are you still fawning?
Yes. I think.
Have you been fawning at my house?
No.
Okay, good.
You would call me out so fast. You'd be like, because you can see it. It's not, I think to the naked eye, I could get away with it. But you know me, A, you know me so well. And B, like, you're a behavior analyst, or like, I can't get anything past you.
See.
Yeah. You would see. Everything that I do is genuine.
Stop it. Take that back. That's yours.
Yes. Well, that's why I told Matt yesterday, I was like, I was so honored that she let me help yesterday. I was like,
oh yeah. I was like, thank you.
I know, because I was normally, I think in any other circumstance, you would be like, stop it, don't. I got it. Or like, I don't know if you would have received it.
No, yeah, I was just so tired. And when you're just so tired, you're like, whatever.
It's a lot to have a guest.
No.
No, I know. I'm adding that.
Absolutely not. You're welcome.
No, I know.
anytime. No, it's just, yeah, kiddos can be a little tough sometimes. Do you see people pleaser behavior in me?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
And I think Matt would call me out on it too.
Yeah.
I'm a little more selfish, I think.
I
to be a
think
people
no,
pleaser.
I think
I'm people pleasing to my kids, I feel like. Like I do. There are things I neglect in my life because I know, like, right now I have to sacrifice what I want to help the kids thrive.
Yeah.
We're working on
But that's it's a hard balance.
Yeah.
And it is something that you learn.
that.
So yeah, that's hard. But yeah.
What a great third part to end our series in narcissism. This basically concludes season 1 of Honey
Yeah.
and Healing.
We did it.
Yeah, 21 episodes, guys.
Oh.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys, and stay tuned for our new look coming in season 2.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.